Hi again, I'm John Nielsen with Wing Chun Hall, here to discuss Wing Chun, your best self-defense option. And today we're talking about the 5th day of Christmas, and for the 5th day of Christmas we're going to talk about the 5 Wing Chun stances, or the 5 movements in Wing Chun. Now in a previous video I talked to you about the 3 different established stances. And so the established stance is the first stance that we want to talk about. An established stance is when you're actually planted and immobile. Okay, and again, that should only be for a brief point of time. You don't want to be staying in one position for very long, but you do have to plant in order to deliver force. So there are 3 of those. We talked about that before, but that's the first Wing Chun stance, the established stance. And then you have your turning stance. So that's when you're turning from one direction to another. And in Wing Chun, we turn with shifting, but not always. I mean, you can just turn by turning too. So a turning stance is your second one, as you're turning from one direction to another. And then you have your advancing stance, and of course, just like Newton said, there's no deceleration. So there's no retreat really in Wing Chun. There's advancing in that direction and advancing in that direction, advancing in that direction and that direction. But of course, we like to advance on diagonals in Wing Chun when we do that. So that's advancing. And then there is, let's see, we got established, turning, advancing, redirecting stance. So that's when it's kind of like an advancing stance, but and it's kind of like a turning stance together. So it's combining those two things. So what you're going to do is you're going to start turning and you're going to move at the same time. So that's redirecting. And then finally you have reestablishing. So that is any time that you've lost your stance for whatever reason, when you don't have an established stance. So when you're not advancing, you're not turning, but you've gotten out of line, you've kind of lost your balance, then you have to come back to stance. So if you're getting pushed back, then you have a reestablishing stance in that method. Now there are plenty of methods that you can use to reestablish stance, but those 5 are basically all that you can do with a stance. You can either have it established, you can turn it, you can advance it, you can redirect it, or you can reestablish it. Okay, so those are the 5. Once again, Merry Christmas to you all. Thanks for watching. Please feel free to support me on Patreon, like and subscribe, and thanks to all.